I love seeing the crowd that we have out here. For one, each year I see crowds in the different locations of the ceremonies I do dwindling. I love the sign out at the entrance. Recognize, respect, and remember. And that can only be taught, and it's going to be carried forward to the next generation. There was a young sergeant, Sergeant Hubbard. He was a member of the National Guard. He came home from Iraq, his Purple Heart, and he was asked to speak in front of his town. All dressed in his dress uniform, his medal proudly displayed. He shared a story. He said his father, too, had returned, bearing the wounds of the enemy from Vietnam. He said the one wound that never healed was the lack of respect that he got upon return. His Purple Heart was denied. And he said his father struggled with that pain until at the age of 14, his father had died. Only then, as his father lied in a casket, did he get his Purple Heart. Not from his country, not from his government, but from the chest of a fellow veteran from Vietnam. He went on to share that around age 17, he had forgotten the face of his father. Well, in 2006, Sergeant Hubbard found himself on patrol in Iraq. An IED burst meters from his body, throwing him to the ground. As he lied on the ground, dazed, bleeding, when he looked up, he saw the face of his father kneeling beside him, keeping him alive. He told his hometown crowd, from that day forward, I made a promise. I would never forget the face of my father again. And I will never forget the face of the warriors that respond in our country's call of arms, that don't return, and the ones that still return. He challenged his hometown. Will you remember, recognize, respect, and remember? Today we honor the graves of those that sacrificed. But there's a little over 82,000 that we have no place to go to place a flag or flowers. That is our prisoners of war and missing in action. We would like to invite them today for this event. I'd like to take this opportunity to remember the incredible cost paid by those who gave their all to help preserve the freedoms that we enjoy. Those gallant individuals who fought and died for our country. Yet, in remembering our fellow brothers and sisters, we are reminded of those fates still unknown, those listed as missing in action and prisoners of war. Over 73,000 are still unaccounted for from World War II. 7,777 from Korea. 126 from the Cold War. 1,611 from Vietnam. And 6 from our current wars in the Middle East. These courageous Americans who dedicated their lives for preserving and protecting our freedom will never be forgotten. To honor these men and women, we will set the table. Those who have served and those currently serving in the uniformed services of the United States of America are ever mindful that the sweetness of enduring peace has always been tainted by personal sacrifice. We are compelled to never forget. While we enjoy our daily pleasures, there are others who've endured and may still be enduring the agonies of pain, deprivation, and interment. They're unable to be with us today, so we pay our humble tribute to them. I'd like for you to direct your attention to the right, for that's what's important. The table. The table is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner, alone against his or her suppressors. Remember, the tablecloth is white, symbolic of their purity and their intention to respond to their country's call to arms, so their children, my children, and your children could live free. Remember, the table is being set for one, symbolizing the fact that members of our armed forces are missing from our ranks. The black napkin reminds us of those that won't come home. Remember. The red ribbon on the base represents the ribbons worn on the lapels of thousands who demand with an unyielding determination a proper accounting of our brothers and sisters who are not among us. Remember. The single rose signifies the blood that they had shed in sacrifices to ensure the freedom of our beloved United States of America. This rose reminds us of the families and friends of our missing who keep faith while awaiting their return. Remember. The slice of lemon is to remind us of their bitter fate, those captured and missing in a foreign land. Remember. The salt being sprinkled on the plate is to remind us of the countless tears of those who have never come home, and of the tears of the families of friends whose grief knows no end. Remember. The Bible serves to remind us of the comfort and faith offered to those who face seemingly unsurmountable challenges. It also reminds us of our country being founded on the principles of one nation under God. The Bible is open to Jeremiah 31, verse 16 through 17, which is particularly meaningful to the MIA families. Thus said the Lord, refraining their voice from weeping and their eyes from tears. For their work shall be rewarded, and they shall come again from the land of the enemy. Remember. The glass. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us today. Remember. The candle is reminiscent of the light of hope, which lives in our heart to illuminate their way home, away from their captors into the open arms of a grateful nation. Remember. The American flag reminds us that many may never return and have paid the supreme sacrifice to ensure our freedom. Remember. The chair. The chair is empty. Our brothers and sisters are missing. Amidst the uncertainties of war, every service member is entitled to one certainty, that he or she will not be forgotten or abandoned. Remember. The barbed wire represents World War I. It's called the war wire of trench warfare. It also reminds us of the mangled lives of the families of our POWs and MIAs waiting their return. Remember. The photo represents World War II. The photo became very popular in Life magazine and showed the war as it happened to those that were in the homeland. Remember. The hourglass represents our current POWs and MIAs in the Middle East. For as long as it takes for the sand to run, a joyous reunion back home diminishes. Remember. The challenge coins, which became very popular during Vietnam by the Army Special Forces. Each branch of service, coin is laid upon the table, plus the POW MIA coin. When the coin is slapped down, it challenges his fellow brothers and sisters to remember. My dad served in the Korean War, the forgotten war. This flag represents the Korean War. It was presented to me when I was with the U.S. Military Vets Motorcycle Club. They thought I could find a good use for it. It draped as a pall on a casket of a veteran. When I asked the name, rank, and service of that veteran, they could not remember. It's always said that no man is dead till he is forgotten. Remember. The mirror on the table is you. As you come and look upon the table, and you see your reflection in the mirror, ask yourself, will you remember? We're going to give you a heads up that they will be doing the 3 volleys. You will hear the gunshots, so please cover your ears if your ears are sensitive to the noise. And remember on the 3 volleys, duty, honor, country, and remember. Everybody please stand.